I've tried to read this particular fic once before in individual chapters. Now that I've gotten to a better rhythm of how I want to structure these videos, I'm going to give it another try from a fresh perspective. This is Light and Dark, The Adventures of Dark Yagami by Dark Yagami. Chapter 1, we begin. Author's note. Hi, thanks for reading. Please rate high. Note this story has some cusses, but it's Light's dad that says them, so it's pretty funny. Also, if you know what Light's mom is called, please tell me, lol. Light and Dark, The Adventures of Dark Yagami. It was a hot day, and Light came home from school. As he got to his house, he saw a strange card outside, and he knew immediately it was not American because the wheel was on the wrong side. He walked in the front door to find his dad Soichiro and his mom. Author's note. I can't remember her name, sorry. They looked surprised to see him. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Light asked them. Light, we have something to tell you, said his dad while playing with his mustache. This is your twin brother, Dark Yagami, they both said together, and pointed to the guy in the corner of the room. Dark looked exactly the same as Light, except that he had black hair and was dressed like Mello, but Light hadn't met Mello yet, so he didn't know that. He got up and walked across the room. Hi, bro, I'm Dark, he said, lolling, and offered his hand to shake. How could you not tell me about this? Light shouted like mad. We sent him to a top-secret orphanage in Wales, it's a town in England, where he would learn to be the next L. We can't tell anyone because it's top secret, and Kira might find out, and Kira might try to kill him, his mom said. Light was crazy and punched table. I'm going to my room. Come on, Sayu, he said, and Sayu, Light's sister-in-law, followed him upstairs. I'm sorry, Light. I wanted to tell you about Dark, but Mom and Soichiro wouldn't let me. That's okay, Light replied. You're my sister, and I know how much you love me. Thanks, Light. They hugged. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. It was Dark. Come on, Dark. I've got something to show you, Light said, and they went into their room. Light's parents had made Light's bed into a double bed. I know what you're thinking, sickos. There's no slash. Light put the pencil in the door to stop people listening and said, I'm Kira. Dark immediately shooted. I know it! You're a worthy successor to L. Now I know why you're his successor now, Light said. Don't worry, bro. I won't tell anyone. In fact, I have a death note of my own, Dark replied, pulling a blood-red notebook out of pants. He put it in there in case his bags were searched. Hey, your death note is a different color to mine, he said, pointing to the black death note in Light's drawer. Stop saying color! You're in America now! It's color! Light replied, exasperated. Sorry, lol, Dark said. This is my Shinigami, he said, and Light saw a big monster appear. He was like twice the size of Ryuk, and had a big mohawk made of blood and skulls. Even Light was scarred of him. He was eating bananas like Ryuk ate apples, but they were blood bananas made of blood. He's big, said Light as the Shinigami bit down on a blood banana. What's his name? My name is Blood, said Blood as he kept on eating the blood banana. I am the new king of the Shinigami, and I have a special death note that kills anyone whose name is written in it, even if you don't know their face or name. I have to unpack now, said Dark. Okay, I will leave you to it, Light replied and exited the door. Dark took his cell phone out of his special place. Author's note, figure it out for yourself, lol, and pressed the L button. L's phone began to ring. Hello, who is this? How did you get my number? L said, angry. I am D, Dark said. I have killed Mello, and stolen his clothes and run away from Watari's house. What? But Watari would have told me if M was dead, L said shockingly. I also killed Watari, said Dark, who was playing with his red death note. El looked around his room. Watari was still standing in the corner, just like he always did. "But who's this with me, then?" El asked. "A fake." At that moment, Watari took his mask off, and it was Light's dad! "Die, you pies of shit!" Soichiro said as he pulled out his gun and pointed it at El's head. "To be continued! Yes!" This is not loading quickly. My theme music is malfunctioning from the content of this fic. Okay. Chapter 2. I explain some stuffs. Flashback! 1 month ago. Flashback! 1 month ago. Watari House, England. Mello was sitting in his dorm eating a chocolate bar. The floor was covered in lots of chocolate bar wrappers, which went crunch when Mello stood on them. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," said Mello, putting down his chocolate. The door spun open to reveal Dark standing, wearing a dressing gown with a posh letter D on the back. He had an evil smile on his face and an even eviler one in his heart. "Where is Near?" asked Dark, puzzled. "He is near," joked Mello. "Ha ha, very funny," replied Dark. "Okay, he's gone to Scotland today, but we'll be flying back this evening. Until then, we'll be alone." Mello started zipping his leather vest thingy. "Want to have some fun?" Dark grinned and nodded. In a flash, Mello had removed his clothes, revealing just a set of black boxer shorts printed with lots of posh letter M's. Dark pulled Ann Pistol out of his dressing gown and pointed it at Mello. "Just because you look like a girl doesn't mean you're hot," said Dark, and shot him and stole his clothes. "But not the boxers of..." "I say, what's all this noise?" said Watari, coming in the room. He saw Dark's gun and shouted, "Bloody bugger! You shot Mello! Now who will kill Kara?" Dark shot Watari again. He fell to the floor, shouting. Then he stopped shouting and died. Once he had escaped the house, Dark took his mobile, author's note, that's what English people call cell phones, and called a mysterious phone number. "Hello, who is this?" asked the mustache man. "I am your son, Dark, the one you abandoned 19 years and sent to a boarding school in England. Well, I have escaped now, and I need you to do me a favor and dress up like Watari and confuse El." "How do you know about Watari?" asked the dad, who was very confused. "I killed him!" There was a surprised gasp. Then Soichiro came back and said he would do it, but only if Dark came back to live with them in America. Dark agreed, but he didn't have any money, so he would have to hide in a box and fly in an airplane and hope he didn't get spotted. 1 week later, Soichiro took the trunk off the spinner and carried it to the car. No one but him knew that Dark was hiding inside it. They went through the x-ray machine, but that was no danger because the box had lead in it and it confused the machine and stopped the x-rays being seen. Once no one could see them, Soichiro opened the box and Dark jumped out. "Good job, Dad!" said Dark as he jumped out of the car. "Now take me to Light. I have a lot of interesting things to say to him." Present day. El dodged Light's dad's bullets and ran across the room. He hid behind a pile of candy and said, "Stop, Soichiro! I can help you!" Then Soichiro ran over and said, "I know I have not really betrayed you. Instead, I have learned that Dark killed Watari and Mello." El was shocked. "In fact, I think that Dark is Kira." "Of course! It all makes sense now!" shouted El. "He framed his twin brother when in fact he is killing people somehow. We have to stop him!" "I think I have a plan," said Soichiro, twisting his mustache like an evil guy. "Don't worry, there's more soon." Chapter 3. Misa and Sayu do sexy stuff. Back at Light's house. Back at Light's house. Light switched on the news. There were lots of evil people on TV, so he wrote their names down and killed them. Dark, meanwhile, was still unpacking his box, which was full of detective stuff he had been given while he was at Watari's house. The doorbell rang, and Light shouted, "I'll get it!" He ran down the stairs and opened the door. It was Misa! Misa was wearing a lacy dress, but it wasn't all goth like her old one. Instead it was white and it had blue skirt, which was short. "Ah, Misa, I am happy to see you," Light said, hugging. He looked around sacredly. His mom was in the next room and might hear him. "Did you bring the," he winked, "homework?" He winked again. "Yes." "Come with me," he said, and they went upstairs. Light and Misa went upstairs and knocked on the door. "Hang on, I'm getting changed," said Dark. "Okay, he's probably naked, so you can't go in there. Wait out here for me," said Light to Misa as he opened the door. Once Misa was alone, Sayu came out the closet. "Get it?" "Hey, Misa, I know your secret," she said. Misa tried to look calm, but the fear in her eyes said a different story. She was very frightened because this girl might know the truth and she would be in trouble. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, scared. "I know that you and Light and Dark are Kira and you're killing people." "No! Don't tell people! You have to keep it a secret!" Misa screamed. "Okay, I won't tell Elle on one condition. You have to have sex with me." Misa looked surprised. She stepped back and gasped. "You're a lesbian?" she asked curiously. "Yes. Why are you?" Sayu said back sexually. "I am vicarious," Misa replied as she took her dress off and walked into Sayu's room. Meanwhile, in Light's room, Light and Dark were talking about the new powerful Death Note. "I got it because I killed the old king of the Shinigami and that made me the new king," said Blood. "The king gets a powerful Death Note that lets him kill whoever he wants. And also he gets a palace and a wife and all the blood bananas he can eat." "Let's try it out," said Light. "Okay, to test it, let's kill this guy." He pointed to a tall, ugly guy on the TV. The man was fat and was presenting the weather. "But I don't know his name," said Light, confused. "You don't need to. All you need is the face," replied. Light wrote in the Death Note, and sure enough, the man died. "Oh my god, that is so good!" said Light, amazed as he watched the man roll around the floor dying. "Now let us try it on more TV people." Meanwhile, back in Sayu's room, Sayu and Misa were both in their underwear. Sayu was wearing a blue Nike sports bra and short, and Misa was wearing a bikini with glitter on it that was shiny against her blonde hair. Misa let her hair down and said to Sayu, "You look so hot." Sayu leaned over and began making out with Misa. Quickly, she unbuttoned Misa's bikini and it fell to the floor, leaving her topless. Sayu then took her own underwear off, and she was naked underneath. Misa squeaked as Sayu began moving down and Frenched her neck. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Sayu cussed and went to the door. She opened the door, and it was Dark! He looked shocked and said, "My sister's a lesbian!" Sayu realized she was naked and slammed the door shut. "Look off, you perv! Mom and Soichiro should never have adopted you back!" she screamed. "I'm sorry, Misa, but we'll have to do this some other time," said Sayu. Misa winked back and said, "I hope so," and grinned. She took her cloths and put them on and climbed out of the window so no one could see. When she was alone, she took Misa's bag that she had left behind. She looked inside it and found a black notebook inside. She took the secret cell phone her dad, Soichiro, had given her and called it. "Hi, Dad! I did what you asked and got Misa's bag. There's a book inside and it says Death Note on the front and it's full of dead people." "Excellent," Dad replied. "Now the game can begin." "Oh my god, what? Find out more next time! Chapter 4. I forgot what happens, but cool. A.N. There seems to be something wrong with my account. It keeps posting the first line twice, sorry. Also contains Naomi OC and Takada OC. Real hot! The next day. Naomi walked in the front door of the police and asked at the desk for Elle. The woman behind the desk was hot-looking, and also she was bi. "Hi, I'm Naomi. I need to speak to Elle," she shouted urgently. "Kira killed my husband, and I think I know who he is." "So that means you're single?" the desk lady winked. Naomi was taken aback. This desk lady was coming onto her? Naomi spelled backwards as I moon, asked the desk lady flirtily. "I don't have time for this," said Naomi anxiously, and she took the desk lady's number to call her later and maybe have sex and ran into Elle's office. Elle looked surprised. "Hi, I'm Naomi. You don't know who I am, but I'm from the FB, and my husband is from the FB, but he's also dead because he was killed by Kira and I want to hunt him down, but I think I know who he is." Naomi gasped. he replied. I think I can help you then. Please sit down, Elle replied, pointing to the chair that was covered in candy. I can't sit on that, Noemi said, because the candy was all sticky and melted and eaten, and it didn't look too good either. Elle then got all the candy off the chair and picked it up and began eating it. The sight was truly one to behold as the small wrinkly ferryman began shoving bits of sugar into his mouth. Naomi thought she was going to puke, but then she stopped herself and sat on the chair that Elle had just cleaned for her. So you wanted to tell me something? Meanwhile at Light's house. It was the early morning, and Light and Dark were in bed together, but only because their parents were too poor to get separate rooms. It's not like they're gay or anything. Light came all over the bed from the window of the room. Dark reached round and grabbed the cock from the table. It was 7 o'clock. When can I have my breakfast? It is already 7, and in the Shinigami world I would eat like a dozen meals by now, because I am king. Please get me a blood banana, said Blood as he danced around the room. Dark laughed at the dance. It was like the ketchup song, but it was about blood, not ketchup, though Shinigami sometimes used blood as ketchup because it was blood. His mohawk was bouncing everywhere. It was like the one on Sonic the Hedgehog, but it was not blue. Dark got out of bed and put on some cloths. He kept the blood bananas in a special case because other people might eat them thinking they were not blood bananas and get a mouthful of blood banana and blood. He threw the blood banana at Blood, who immediately went to town on it until there was nothing except a skin which he could eat but didn't because they are poisonous, but not to a Shinigami. Why can't I have blood banana? Asked Royak sadly as he ate an apple and felt left out. He was not allowed to eat blood bananas because he was not the king and was not safe to the poisons inside them. Back at the police! Kira is Mikami! That bastardly hound, said Light's dad, who was pretending to be English. I know he is Kira because he went on TV and he was evil, she said. You did the right thing coming to us, said Elle. Now we will kill him and put a stop to his evilness once and for all, period. Watari took his sniping gun and ran the door out. Elle followed, eating a candy bar and a coffee, and got in his helicopter and flew to Mikami's house where the action was. Naomi went back to desk and flitted with the desk lady. Now, where were we? She said as she zipped her motorcycle jacket down and led the desk lady into a quiet closet that was almost empty, except there was a mop in there and also some paint that the janitor used to paint things with. They made out for a bit. There's just one thing you should know, said Naomi, getting naked as she took her jacket off and revealed a fancy suit that newsreaders wear underneath. I'm not really Naomi. I'm Takada. At Mikami's house in a helicopter. Elle turned on the sirens of the helicopter and shouted, Come out with your hands up or I will shoot you! There was no reply, and Light's dad, dressed as Watari, shoot out a window just to show him he meant business and was not just some crazy guy in a helicopter. This is your last chance, he shouted and threw a smoke grenade into the house. Soichiro got a good shot at Mikami and killed him in the leg. There was still no reply. I will have to use stealth instead, said Elle and jumped in the broken window screaming. Mikami looked up in shock. He wasn't expecting them, and certainly not the crazy boy that had jumped the window. He was holding the death note with one hand and his broken leg with the other, and it had the names of everyone he had ever killed written on it. That's how Elle knew it was the death note. Mikami is in trouble! Shouted Blood as he smushed another blood banana into his already smushed up mouth. One of the things good about being king of the Shinigami is that you could see all the death notes and Blood was using it to see Mikami. If he talks, I'm dead, said Light, panicking. He knew he should not have told Mikami how to make a death note even if he wasn't evil. Now he would write Light's name down. Unless... Back in Mikami's house! I'm not the real Kira, shouted Mikami, who was scared. He knew that there were laws against Kira, and if he was caught, then a jig would be up. Then who's the real Kira? Asked Elle. Tell us, you effing scumbag, added Light's dad, who was holding a knife to his neck like the Joker did. He was mad with rage. His mustache was covered in spit, and it was pretty rank, really. I'll tell you, it's Light Yaga. Then he died. What? He just died and he never told us the name! No, we'll never know who it was! Elle raged and punched in the wall. He was strong for his looks and made a big hole. Meanwhile, in the janitor's cupboard where Takada and the desk lady were sexing. "Oh, this is so good," moaned the desk lady, who was now naked. "The stuff that was going on was pretty graphic, and I don't want to make this fic M, so all I'll say is that it was sexy and Takata was using mop, but was naked. You'll have to figure out how for yourself, Ruffle." Suddenly, Takata collapsed to the floor, and the desk lady started screaming. She was death-noted. Blood stopped watching the naked couple and went back to Light. "Takata is dead," he said. "Just as planned," evil Light, putting away his death note. OMFG! To be continued! Chapter 5. We meet Yotsuba and Matt. Flashback yesterday. Matt got on his motorbike and was racing across the country faster than a speeding bullet. His googles were flapping in the wind, and his mission was clear. He would revenge the death of Mello if it was the last thing he did. He went even faster on his motorbike because it would be dark soon, and he couldn't see anything except the light bits because of his headlights. It was a 300-mile drive, and the speed limit was like 30, and he knew that if he was going to get where the action was at, he would need to be going fast, and went faster. Suddenly, he stopped suddenly. He saw the tally lights of a porch up ahead, and the driver was laughing like mad, and something about the car just didn't seem right somehow. He stepped on it and did a wheelie because the road was abandoned and because he was going fast, the wind running past his ears like a NASCAR on steroids, only faster. He got out his gun and shot it at the back window of the porch. It shattered and swerved all over the road, and Matt had to yell, "What are you doing, you effing psycho?" and jumped in the back window. The driver was a tall, skinny man with greasy hair called Yotsuba, and he was laughing and driving and writing something in his book as he drove. Matt looked at the book even closer, and he noticed something to his horror. It was a death note! Flashback a bit later that day. Later, as Yotsuba got to the end of the road, Matt made his move, and he jumped in driver's seat and grabbed the wheel. Yotsuba screamed like a little girl, only manlier because he was big and covered his face with his arms. The car crashed into a wall and exploded in a ball of flame. One of the drivers died instantly, and the other stole the death note and jumped back on his motorbike and drove off. It was, "You'll have to find out later, P." Present day. "Light, what the effing hell were you effing doing? Killing Noami and Mikami!" screamed Dark as he punched Light in the gut pretty hard, and Light screamed. "I had to do it, or they would have said our names to the police, and we'd be arrested," he replied. "Oh, okay," said Dark, clamming down a bit and putting his shirt back on. "But we need to take more care in the future," Dark added as Light rubbed lotion on his sore tummy. Blood came in the doorway. "I have bad news! Matt survived the car crash!" he said madly as he chowed down on blood banoffee pie that Misa had made earlier because she was a good cook from the TV, at least in the movie. "What car crash?" said Light. His gut was really hurting, and also it was bruised bad too. "Oh, I didn't tell you my death note can also kill people in the past, and I'm going to write his name in it in the future to kill him in the past and stop him stealing the death note," said Dark, pointing to his royal death note. "Then why is Blood telling me now, not in the future?" Light said as he scratched his head. "It's one of those time paradoxes that they have in Back to the Future," Dark replied and picked up his death note. He picked up the death note and wrote, "Matt dies yesterdays in a car crash," and the death note glowed a funny color, which meant it was doing stuff in the past. Meanwhile, in the past. Suddenly, Matt was back in the car, and before he knew what the hell was happening, he jumped and grabbed the steering wheel, and the car crashed again, but this time Yotsuba survived, and he climbed out just before there was a big explosion that was like 10 times the size of a normal explosion because the death note had done magic to it and threw bits of Matt all over the road. It was a sick sight, not least because the bits of Matt were squishy in places, and his goggles were on fire, and so was his hair, and there was blood all over the road, which made Yotsuba lose his lunch, and that made things even sicker. Yotsuba picked up Matt's PSP and decided to take it with him to play on the train. He laughed evilly again and took Matt's motorbike and drove to the railroad, where he took a train to Light's town. Back in the future! Al looked at the death note Sayu had stolen from Misa. There was some rules in the front, but he figured how it worked anyway because he was a genius and worked it out. He picked up a pen from the desk and said, "Time to test this bad boy out." He opened the book and wrote, "Light's mom!" Next chapter coming soon, and it will be pretty intense, so watch it. Also review, please. Chapter 6. Maybe last chapter or not. This is author's note. This is probably the last chapter, though I may add some more later. It all depends whether people like it. Vote. What the F are you doing, Ryuzaki? Shouted Light's dad at L as he wrote his wife's name in the death note. Don't worry, I have a plan, but I hope this works, he replied as he put a second death note out of his bag, but this one was glittery and white and made of silk and said Life Note on the front. In Light and Dark's house. Light's mom jumped through the door and said in a strange voice that was not hers, I am L. I know that you are Kira, Dark Yagami, and I am going to reveal it to the world and then arrest you later. Holy shit! Muttered Dark as Light's mom danced around the room under the control of the death note, which was making her say all these things. Also, I am not dead. Your plan to kill me failed because I am smart enough to make Soichiro on my side. She continued, though it wasn't her saying all this crazy stuff, it was L using the death note. Light's mom pulled a knife out of her apron and held it against Dark and said, I don't have the evidence yet, but if you come with me to the warehouse, then I think we can come to an agreement. Then she fell over and died of a heart attack. L, you fucking maniac, you killed my wife! Light's dad yelled as loud as he could, which was pretty damn loud because he was a cop. Not so fast, replied the short, messy detective man and wrote, Light's mom comes back to life in the life note. There was a blinding flash of light and a noise like a bunch of angels signing, and Light's mom got up and came back to life. You're alive! Cheered Soichiro as he glomped Light's mom to the ground. But what's going on back at Dark's house? What the fuck? Shouted Light. We have to go to the warehouse again, but this time we don't have Mikami, he shouted. Calm down, Light, Dark said. I have another plan, and this will end the story once and for all. They went to the warehouse, and Al was waiting for them there. Nier was there as well, and he was playing with some toy robot or something. I don't know. It's not really important. I have come of my own free will, but it appears that it was not needed, for you have not proved that I'm Kira. That's where you're wrong, L replied. You don't have any evidence that I'm Kira, said Dark triumphantly. But you came here. That proves that you are Kira, L cried. Dark was so shocked that he fell to the floor screaming. How could he have given himself away so easily? But he still had his trump card waiting in his pants. He reached into his pocket and took the royal death note out of his pocket. He didn't know L's name, but he didn't have to. He wrote L in the book, and straight away the detective fell over and started dying. How are you doing this? Asked L forcefully as rolled on the floor, suffering heart attacks and pain. Because my Shinigami is the king of the Shinigami and has the power to kill anyone even if you don't know their name. At that moment, Blood appeared in front of Dark and said, That's where you're wrong, my shiny-haired apprentice. You see, I only pretended to be your Shinigami, but in fact, I was Elf all along. I gave him a life note, and all I have to do is write El's name in it, and he will come back to life, as good as new, and your plans will have been foiled. El wrote El Lolayet in the life note and jumped back to his feet. He looked mad and said, Okay, that proved you are because you killed me. I'll put the handcuffs on Dark. Now I have put an end to your reign of terror, Kira. I hope our paths never cross again. Blood then whispered in Dark's ear. I don't actually work for Al. He only thinks I do, but I really work for you. Dark replied, I know. Everything went exactly as planned. In prison! Prison life was good to Dark because he was Kira, and everyone in prison was his bitch. He could eat lots of prison food, and because he had given Al a fake royal death note and not the real one, he could hypnotize prisoners into doing illegal stuff for him and then dying without the guards catching on. Then, one day, he wrote the names of everyone in the prison and all the guards and stuff too and made them dig a tunnel out. When Al found out, he was mad. How did he escape the prison? Al asked ponderously as he chewed a big old mouth of gummy candy and gum. Then he looked at the royal death note and noticed it was a fake and got even madder. I'll get you, Dark Yagami, if it's the last thing I do, he cried. Meanwhile, at the Yagami house. Welcome back, Dark, said Light's mom, who didn't remember all the dying and mean stuff she said earlier. Also, he had blood wipe Soichiro's head, so he would forget to... Me and Misa are going steady, said Sayu to Dark. Want a threesome? She winked. Better make it a foursome, joked Light Yagami, and everyone laughed. The end. Miles away, Yotsubo is just getting off his train, holding the death note he had stolen from Matt. Now the party can really begin! Or is it? Okay, well this seems like a pretty good spot to leave off for part 1, so it was great to see you all. This was the first 6 chapters of Light and Dark, and I will be back soon once I get my voice back.